Never Trust a Zombie, Chapter 11. It's recording. Yeah, alright. Chapter 11, Creep, is the name of the title of the song, of the chapter song chapter. Here we go. I don't know where I am, or who I am, for that matter. There's no telling what the time is. My body hurts. All of it. The room is cool, I think, but my temperature seems to be fluctuating, so I don't really know. It is dark. There's a window in front of me, but no light coming through it. I'm lying on my side on a bed. I manage to roll over and find the bed is flush with the wall. I roll and put the wall to my back again. The wall in front of me has the one window and nothing else. The wall at the head of the bed is blank. Opposite that wall is the door to the room. But again, nothing else on that wall either. It is an empty room. It is a dark, cool, empty room with just this bed and just me on this bed. It is difficult to focus on the attributes of the room while I'm in such agony, but I'm curious about where I am. My head feels swollen and every muscle in my body is alternating between aches and spasms. I must have a fever. Maybe I caught the flu. I don't think I'm at home, though, and this doesn't look like a hospital. I fade out of consciousness several times, each time coming back to the point I left off, wondering where I am and what is wrong with me. I'm unable to capture an image of who I am, but feel like I should be someone and need to find out who. I just can't do it. Slowly, I begin to notice there is some light in the room. It's very dim, emanating from a small lamp set on the floor next to the head of the bed. In my confusion, I focus on the light. I know what light is. It allows me to see. Seeing is good, and I become aware that I'm able to do it. This seems significant, but I don't know why it should. Haven't I always been able to see? I'm not a baby. The realization of this burns into my consciousness. I am not new. I know I've seen before, but the process feels new. An acrid smell begins to take hold of my awareness. It is repulsive, whatever it is. There's something sickly familiar about it, but still I am unable to place it in my memory. I try to lift myself from the bed, but it hurts, and I find myself sapped of strength. I was able to roll earlier, so I try rolling towards the edge of the bed, and am able to catch a glimpse of the lamp on the floor beneath me. I think I found the source of the repugnant odor. Someone, presumably me, has vomited. If it was me, I'm glad I don't remember it. I hate vomiting. Actually, I do hope it was me. I don't think I could handle lying this close to someone else's vomit. There's a tingling sensation in my brain. It feels good, and it is a welcomed relief under the circumstances. I think it was the realization that I don't like vomit that caused the sensation. This is something about who I am, and I've become aware of it. It feels good. I don't like vomit. I don't like doing it, and I really don't like smelling it. I flop onto my back on the bed and look up at the ceiling. It is blank. I can see and I can smell. Clearly, I can feel, as witnessed by the extreme pains pulsing through my body. What is that other one? Taste? Yes, taste. I try to taste and find my mouth extremely dry and difficult to open. Suddenly, a grating pain shoots down my throat and my eyes widen. All I can taste is pain. But pain isn't a flavor. Something's still not right in the taste sensation. I have another moment of self-realization and decide that given the circumstances, it is probably best if I ignore the sense of taste for a little while. I can try to figure out hearing. As though working my way through a pre-flight checklist, I work through my senses, being driven on this path subconsciously, I suppose. It is all I can do to be aware of what is going on inside of my own body. I am inside of my own body, but unaware of it. This is a very frightening realization. I must be dreaming. I know what dreams are. They are thoughts in the brain when you are asleep. Sometimes when I'm sick with a fever, I have very strange dreams. I must have a fever, but I don't remember getting sick, or much of anything else, really. Unable to grasp any specifics on how I got to this point, I returned to focusing on hearing. I realized that I've been able to hear ever since I first started regaining consciousness and became aware of the room I'm in. All I've heard is a monotone humming sound, punctuated by rasping. It's me. I'm making those sounds. I'm groaning in pain and breathing unevenly as a result. An image is recalled and fills the void inside my head. I see myself sick, in a bed, in a different room, surrounded by familiar things, watching television. It is from another time when I was sick, and I was moaning and groaning and lying in bed writhing in pain. I remember that time. I had a very high temperature from something that wreaked havoc on my stomach. I must be experiencing the same thing now. The same feelings of restlessness and utter physical exhaustion that I felt then, I feel now. But when did I get sick? And where am I? I'm not in the same room now as I was in that memory. I've moved. That's right, my family had moved recently. But I don't think this is my new room. There aren't any things here. This doesn't seem like a hospital either. So where else would I be if I'm really sick? My family moved. I'm new here. I've met new people, Memories are beginning to flow back as images, captures of moments, but without recognition of details or identities. I need to remember who I am. My frustration swells. Coincidentally, so does my pain, and once again I feel myself slipping into darkness. The room is light, much lighter than when the dim lamp was providing before. My eyes hurt, but I force them open. The tiny muscles in my eyes work to close my pupils as the bright light activates the receptor cells and floods my optic nerve with information. It is too much, too fast, and all I can sense is whiteness. After a few moments of squinting and blinking, I begin to notice shapes and shades again. The white, washed out blur diminishes to one brilliant point of light, which I make out to be the window. The lamp is off now. It must be daytime. As soon as I realize this, I also realize the full pain sensation in my body, making it feel too heavy for me to support, even while lying flat on the bed. I test my other senses. The repulsive odor from before is gone. In its place is the pine scented aroma of cleaning liquid. There's no sound other than the bed spring beneath the mattress creaking as I move slightly. My mouth, still parched, tastes like rusty metal. With no recollection of having ever eaten rusty metal, I'm not sure how I come up with the flavor signature, but that's what it is. I still don't know who I am. Eric, a voice whispers. It is a soft, pleasant voice, and I want to hear it again. Not recognizing it, or the meaning of what it said, and not being able to respond or move very much, it isn't long before I get to hear it again. Eric, are you awake? Can you hear me? This time I can recognize the voice as being female, but it's still difficult to identify specifically. I try to respond, but a weird groan is all that comes out. I don't even recognize it as my own voice. Not that I know what my voice should sound like, just that I didn't realize the sound I heard was emanating from my throat. The girl stands up from a chair near the foot of the bed and takes a few steps closer before sitting down at my side and taking my hand in hers. The movement of the bed and the touch of someone else's hands on my own are excruciatingly painful, and I almost slip into blackness again. Instead, I simply scream, or attempt to, but all that comes out is a high pitched squeal. My visitor laughs at me and then returns my hands to my abdomen and rests one of her own hands gently on my forehead, which also hurts more than it should. I see the fever hasn't broken yet. You can't speak either, huh? She asks. Whoever this is, she seems to know me, but I can't place her at the moment. Her skin is pale. It stands out against her dark hair and green eyes. Unable to speak and not wanting to recreate that little squeal, I do my best to shake my head in answer to her question, but I understood what she asked, so it's a step in the right direction. That's fine. I'm sure all you have right now are questions. I'd like to explain things to you if you feel up to it. Do you want me to talk? She seems kind, and I like hearing her voice. If nothing else, it does distract me from the pain, and it sounds like she can tell me who I am and why I'm here, wherever it is that I am. I nod. Okay, she says. She stands up and walks towards the window. I relax and stare at the ceiling, hoping the pain will fully subside from a moment ago when she touched me. I don't know what you remember right now, Eric, but I guess our history doesn't go so far back that I can't just recount the whole of it right now. She sighs, and a minute or so passes before she continues. Whatever she's about to tell me must be difficult for her. I hope you can forgive me someday for all of this. I honestly didn't expect it to turn out the way it has. I know you have issues of your own right now, but things are crazy for me too. She pauses again, I guess to compose her thoughts. I'm not moving anything except my eyes, following the pacing figure of the girl who seems to have a lot to say, but isn't sure how to say it. Even lying perfectly still is rather painful at the moment. I've been waiting for you to wake up. I've wanted to talk to you and explain that I didn't know that this was going to happen and ask you to forgive me. I figure you won't understand yet, but I didn't think I'd be having this much trouble explaining it. Let me just give you the facts and the timeline. 2 days ago, after school, you and I went for a drive, and then I brought you to my house to meet my parents and tell them that I told you about our virus. Do you remember that? She pauses, waiting for my response. Honestly, I don't know what she is talking about. I hear the words, but only some of them mean anything to me. It's obvious she and I know each other, but it is still all very foggy about the specifics. When I don't respond, she walks over and looks me in the eye. I try to shrug to convey my confusion. She seems to get the message, nods, and walks back toward the window. You are still muddled. You are still muddled. I guess I'll just keep talking. This can be my practice run, and then we can go over it again later. That's a good piece of writing there. So convenient for the story. All right, sorry. I shouldn't comment. Let's start over the paragraph. You're still muddled. I guess I'll just keep talking. This can be my practice run, and then we can go over it again later. I don't have anything else to do, and clearly you don't either. She turns back to face me, smiling, but when my expression remains exactly the same, her smile melts into a frown. She says, I'm sorry. I don't mean to make light of the situation, just using humor as a coping mechanism. So 3 days ago, I told you that my family contracted a virus that made us all zombies. After we were infected with the virus, the CDC moved us here to live as normal a life as we could, as zombies. It was all supposed to be a secret. That was the number one rule I was given, and I broke that rule when I told you about us. Well, after I told you, that night I interrupted a discussion between my parents and the other two scientists who live here, Frank and Mark. Frank was concerned that you were a secret agent from the agency spying on us. To see if we've told our secret or infected anyone else or something like that. Mama told them all about you when she got home from school after meeting you. I didn't tell them I told you about us, but became extremely nervous and afraid of what they were saying since I had told you. Nervous and afraid of what they were saying since I had told you. Okay. Like I told you on Wednesday, Frank wanted to bring you here to find out if you were an agent. My mom didn't think that was necessary, as she had met you and didn't think you were an agent. Frank got angry and left. Later that evening, my mom came to my room and explained that she thinks Frank is up to something with the agency and we might be in danger here. All this time, we thought we were safely hidden, but now Mom thinks Frank has been working with someone in the agency in planning an outbreak of the virus. I guess I found my words now, huh? Are you getting any of this? She looks at me, her face all scrunched up, searching my face for understanding. I'm only catching parts of it, but I don't want her to stop talking, so I nod slightly in hopes of encouraging her to keep it up. Okay, she says, mixed with a slight laugh. You don't look like you're following me, but if you nod so, I'll continue. I nod again. Mom told me that she was concerned that Frank might be about to start spreading the virus in the community, or that someone from the CDC would be coming here or something. Clearly, I don't know what's going on, but Mom was concerned and asked me how I felt. I told her I find the idea of spreading the virus around in public kind of freaky. She told me not to worry too much, that she'd figure something out, but that we might need to leave town soon. It was hard not to worry when Frank was at the school Wednesday morning. When I said he never leaves the house, I meant it. That was the first time I saw him out. I kept my worry and suspicion under control all day until, well, you were there after school when we discussed it all. I really thought bringing you here and telling them that you knew everything would help. I guess I was wrong. Mom told me they had to do this to you because we were leaving. They said if I never mentioned it to you, then if I they said if I never mentioned it to you, then they could have left you alone. But since you knew, you couldn't be left behind. If I had waited one more day before telling you. She trails off and walks back to the window. She stands looking out for a long while. I lie motionless. I still don't know what she's talking about, but I caught the part where she said they had to do this to you. Whatever it is that's wrong with me, they did it to me. But I don't really know who they are yet. I wish I could talk. I have so many questions. Who am I? Who is this girl? What did they do to me? Who are they? I guess you aren't ready for conversation yet. I'll come back later. Hopefully you'll be further along. We are getting ready to leave. Frank never came back after we saw him the other night. Mom says that's probably bad. I'm really sorry, Eric. I'm sorry this is happening. I really hope you won't hate me and my family. My parents did what they thought they had to. I don't agree with it, but I guess I do understand it. It won't be so bad. After another day or two and the virus takes over fully, until then it will be awful for you. Just relax as much as you can. You won't be able to sleep, but relax, and I'll be able to and I'll be back to see you in a little while. With that, she turns and leaves, closing the door gently behind her. I'm left to try and make sense of what I've just been told. I'll start with what I know. I'm in terrible pain, apparently from something done to me by someone I know. I'm at a friend's house. I guess that's it. Short recap. I don't know much at all. What did she say at the end? A virus? They gave me a virus? Whoever the girl is, she seems nice enough. Of course, she also admitted to giving me a virus of some kind. A virus that is making me sicker than I've ever been, at least as far as I can remember, which doesn't seem to be very far. She said I won't be sleeping. How did she know that? Time passes slowly, but it does pass. The girl was right. I'm not sleeping. I just keep picturing her and trying to make sense of what she told me. Her pale face and dark hair are burned into my mind. She isn't gorgeous, but she's attractive. I wonder if she's my girlfriend. I sure hope she isn't my sister. I can't even recall my family at all. But at the thought of family, I picture two people and instantly recognize them as mom and dad. That's it. I don't have any siblings. I know it now. And for the moment, the pale faced girl is out of my mind. I see mom and dad. I see them through my own eyes in different settings and at different times. First, they look young and then they look older. I suppose I'm flashing through memories. I hear a name again. My parents are saying it over and over. Eric. The pale girl said Eric as well. I wasn't able to comprehend much of what she was saying, so I didn't know it was a name, but it's coming together now. My name is Eric. Upon recognizing my own name, it feels as though my consciousness is restored. I remember everything up to the moment I was hit in the head. I was hit in the head. I remember that now. But what I feel is way more than a head injury. The virus. She told me I had a virus. Her name is Rachel. Rachel was here, the pale faced girl. She was in this room with me and she told me something, but I didn't understand. I need her to come back now. Rachel. I try to yell, but it comes out as a hoarse whisper. I need some water. I need some air. I need to move. I try to sit up, but the pain comes quickly and reminds me that something is seriously wrong with my body. I fall back on the bed and my head hits the pillow with a thump. I remember there was a loud thump that started all of this, followed by excruciating pain in my head and subsequently everywhere else. My head throbs and I want to cry. I'm about to break down and sob, but the door to the room opens, distracting me from my emotion. My eyes fix on the door. As soon as there is enough space cleared, Rachel sticks her head in and looks at me. She gives me a sad, sympathetic smile, the kind I might have really enjoyed seeing if the conditions were different. If I was just down with the flu in my own bed, in my own house, and she had come to visit me, in that case I'd be stoked. But here and now, I'm too confused and in too much pain. Hi, Eric. Are you able to talk yet? She asks softly. Frustration is building inside of me again, and I'm not even trying to subdue it. The worst part is that my thoughts are so jumbled I don't even know why it is I am feeling so frustrated. I try to speak, but an affirming grunt is all I can muster. It's enough. She understands. Good. Do you remember anything from what I said before about giving you the virus? The part about hitting me in the head and giving me a virus? Yeah, I remember that part. Of course, I can't speak, so I can't communicate this beyond simply nodding. Wait, more memory pieces are coming together. They didn't just give me a virus, they gave me their virus. They made me a zombie? My frustration takes a turn and focuses on Rachel. Still, I can't communicate this realization. Okay, you were deep in the transition before, so I don't think you understood much of what I was saying. Do you remember what happened before we came to my house on Wednesday? Rachel closes the door and takes up a position sitting cross legged on the end of the bed near my feet, but not touching me. This relieves me, but I'm not sure why. I nod again. I try to ask for some water, but all I get out are some squeaks and grunts before I fall into a coughing fit that leaves me painfully winded and throbbing all over. Would you like me to get you some water? She asks. I nod as fervently as I can. Okay, I'll go for some, but sadly it probably won't help you much. You're in the transition still, and it's just going to run its course. That's why you can't give. That's why we can't give you any painkillers either. It's brutal, I know, but all we can do is leave you to go through it. If there was anything I could do to make this easier or more comfortable for you, believe me when I say I would. She looks sincere, but the new realization that she and her family just killed me and turned me into a zombie leaves me feeling unfriendly towards her at the moment. I'll get some water and be right back. Rachel's off the bed and out the door quickly, leaving it slightly open behind her. I can smell food of some kind now and hear muffled voices. That's a heavy door if it blocks all of that. I almost lose focus on the moment by being distracted by the physical capability of the door, but I manage to remain on task. The Suttons turned me into a zombie. They gave me a fatal virus. They are murderers. Rachel is a murderer? Why did she do this to me? Weren't we going to tell her family that I knew their secret and that I wasn't going to let it out? I remember that we did tell them that. I remember thinking they were taking the news of their secret being exposed very well. Now I see that they took it too well. Was it staged? I wish I had understood what Rachel told me earlier. Maybe she was explaining what happened. Did she know this was going to happen to me when we came here to talk to her parents? Was it all an elaborate story to get me to the house where they could turn me into one of them? If they wanted to eat my brain, they would have done that, and it'd be over with. But that wouldn't require any kind of backstory. It was clear that I was crushing on Rachel. All she would have had to say, all she would have had to do was say, "Would you like to come to my house?" And I would have been there. Man, I guess that's what actually happened. And now I'm a zombie. I mean, to find out what Rachel's involvement was in this mess. What I need to find out what Rachel's involvement was in this mess. Still got time? Yeah, maybe. I try not to. I try not to let that sink in too much and work over what I remember of what Rachel said. What? Wednesday. She said Wednesday as though it happened in the past, not today. That means I've been here for more than a day? Did she say how many days it had been? I can't remember. How long have I been in this agony? I look down and realize for the first time in all of this that I'm wearing hospital scrubs. I know I didn't come here wearing these. So many questions. What about my parents? Did the Suttons call them and give them some story about where I am? Did they invite my parents over and kill them too? Did my mom even know I was with Rachel? She might not have had any idea where I was, and if she eventually figured out I might have been with Rachel and somehow figured out how to contact the Suttons, would it have been late enough for them to have cooked up a plausible alibi for Rachel and just dismissed my disappearance as a mystery to them? Rachel is back with the water, and I am none too pleased with her. I try to start in with some of my questions, but am met once again with the dry coughing that leaves me pulsing with pain. Rachel smiles sadly and hands me the water when I stop shaking. I prop myself up on one elbow and gulp down the water, only to find that it doesn't help to relieve the pain, and in fact burns a little as it passes through my esophagus. It does seem to restore some life to my mouth, however, keeping my tongue and cheeks from sticking to my teeth, if only momentarily. Does it help at all? Rachel asks hopefully. I croak out, a little, my first intelligible uttered words in who knows how long. You can talk, she says. At first, I take offense at this, but then I realize that she doesn't seem to be operating under the same perspective as me right now. Rather than throw an angry glance at her, I shrug and bobble my head around. Rachel says, "And you can move. You're supporting your weight on that elbow pretty well. You seem to be progressing faster than Mom expected, although you probably have another day or two before you're up to strength, according to her guess. But progress is progress. Rachel's mom. I remember her, the kindly scientist who can't keep a straight face when trying to tease her daughter's friends. She has plotted a schedule for my monster morph. I think I'd like to talk with her soon. So do you remember coming here to the house and talking with my parents? Rachel asks. I nod again. I could probably say yes, but I'm not going to push it. Okay, I'll recap again. We told my parents that I told you about the virus. Unknown to me at the time, my parents were planning on us getting out of town because Frank is off his rocker. Literally, the chair has been empty in the den since we saw him Wednesday night. She pauses and tries to fight a smile from breaking out on her face. No good? All right, I'll stick with the story and hold off on the jokes for a bit. You look pretty miserable, and I don't know what I can do to alleviate your suffering. I hoped humor would do it. Anyway, my dad hit you with a board. He hit you hard, not enough to kill you, but enough to knock you out. Yeah, I wouldn't want to kill me before you can infect me with your killing virus. At least I can respond to her in my head. Even if she can't hear it, it'll help me. But my face must have revealed my thought, even through my grimacing in response to the pain I'm still experiencing. Honestly, he wasn't trying to kill you with the board, Rachel exclaims. At least that's what they told me. I guess she misread my face. I don't care about his intent with the board. It doesn't matter if it was just to knock me out or not. The end result is that I'm dead. But I remain silent, this time only partly due to the pain. I'm primarily interested in the rest of her narrative. Rachel exhales and pulls the chair from behind the foot of the bed up closer to my head and then sits down. So Dad hit you with the board, you went woozy, and then passed out. Left a pretty good bruise, which might not really ever go away, come to think of it, but don't worry about that. It's hidden by your hair, mostly. Rachel pauses and then continues. I guess you don't need those kinds of details right now. Back to the story. You see, with Frank's actions raising some concerns for my mom, they decided we need to leave this place. That's when you and I come in and that's when you and I come in and say you know about us. Dad realized we couldn't just leave you behind knowing about us, so we hit you. Believe me, I gave them both a stern yelling at in response to it. Not that that helps any now. But it was a while before they got me to calm down and were able to explain things to me. Dad said he needed to buy time to figure out what to do with you. I don't know why he thought hitting you was the best thing. It's not like you were about to run out to the newspaper or something. Rachel stops her report. Her lips purse and her forehead scrunches up. She must be thinking. I'd like to ask her about what? She looks at me and I look back at her, shaking her head. Rachel stands up, puts her hands into her pockets, and wanders over to the window, but then comes right back over and sits down again. I just took their explanation at face value, but now in retrospect, it doesn't make so much sense, Rachel says, and just leaves the thought hanging. I've been building up anger towards her, grouping her with her parents in the attack on me, but maybe she wasn't part of it after all. She continues her story, but more pensively. When I was asking Dad why he hit you, he said he needed time to figure out what to do with you in relation to our getting out of town. Mom suggested that we pass off your head injury as some kind of accident and flat out deny any stories you might tell afterwards, attributing them to the concussion induced confusion. Dad didn't think that was going to work, so he suggested we give you the virus and take you with us. I protested, but Mom agreed with Dad and said that Frank was likely going to cause trouble for you if we didn't take you with us. It seemed like the best thing to do at the time. Now I'm not so sure. Her family murdered me, but she didn't. I wish I knew what was going on. I wish I could talk more. Rachel stands up and walks to the door. She stands for a moment, silent, then grabs the doorknob and pulls. But before she leaves the room, she looks back at me. Things didn't go as planned, did they? I shake my head and try to smile, but the pain is too much and I black out again. End of that chapter. All right. It's not, there's 7 chapters left, but where are they? Must be really short ones. I don't see any of the pages. Yeah, I guess these are short. Huh. All right. We're over halfway through the book. 100 pages left out of 280 or whatever. Okay. Thumbs up. Uh, yeah, enjoy. Thanks.